All right, so this video is to help people who are confused with the practice of learning absolute value. So I have an example of the many type of questions that are in the practice worksheets. Practice number 1 and practice number 2. All right, so let's start first with simple absolute value. So right here, we have the absolute value of -7, right? And absolute value is represented by the bars. I highlighted them to keep my work organized with the bars and my numbers. Sometimes I get them confused with my ones. So that's why I find it useful to highlight them. All right, so -7. Once again, absolute value means what is the distance of this number away from 0, right? So if we were to draw a number line, we have 0 here, and we have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. How far away is -7 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. -7 is 7 whole steps away from 0. So my answer is 7. The absolute value of -7 is 7. All right. So those are some type of questions that you're going to practice. Another type of practice questions you have is when you're comparing two absolute values. So the same way we did here, we have to do it here, but for two numbers, and then we have to compare them using a greater than, less than, or equal sign. So let's solve this first problem first. What is the absolute value of -100? How far away is -100 from 0? So if we were to draw a number line and count how many spaces -100 is from 0, you would get 100, right? So the absolute value of -100 is 100. What is the absolute value of +100? Once again, if we were to draw a number line from 0 to 100, how many spaces are there? 100, right? So the absolute value of +100 is also 100, right? Absolute value of -100 is 100. Absolute value of +100 is 100. Okay, now let's compare them. Which one is less than, greater than, or are they equal? Right, they're equal. It's the same number. They are equal to each other. 100 is equal to 100. All right, let's try the next one. -7. We already found the absolute value of -7 over here, so we know it's 7. -7 is 7 spaces away from 0. So that is 7, right? Oh, I forgot to put the answer right here. So 7, is it less than, greater than, or equal to the absolute value of +2? So +2 is how many spaces away from 0? If you were to draw a number line, right? 0, 1, 2. How many spaces is it away from 0? 2 spaces. So the absolute value of +2 is 2. Okay, now you have those two numbers, 7 and 2. Is 7 greater than 2? Is 7 less than 2? Or is 7 equal to 2? 7 is greater than 2. So you're going to use this sign. Remember, when you're using these signs, the 2 dots have to point to the number that is bigger, the number that is greater. The 1 dot points to the number that is less. So 7 is greater than 2. So the absolute value of -7 is greater than the absolute value of +2. Let me highlight my answers because I'm just realizing right now this is super messy. I'm sorry. So the absolute value of -100 is equal to the absolute value of 100. The absolute value of -7 is greater than the absolute value of 2. All right, moving on to the next one. Now you have questions like this. The absolute value of x equals 20. It's asking you to think of two answers you think can represent what x is. So now you're kind of reversing it. You know what the absolute value is. What number is inside the absolute value to make it this answer? So there's two possible answers, right? The number that can be inside the absolute value bars to make it x can be 20, right? The absolute value of 20 is 20. Positive 20 is 20 spaces away from 0. Another answer that can be in here is -20, because -20 is also 20 spaces away from 0. So x can be positive 20. X can also be -20. They're both 20 spaces away from 0. 20 spaces away from 0. All right, so now let's try another one. Absolute value of y equals 42. So the number inside the absolute value bar needs to be 42 spaces away from 0. So what can y equal? So just like over here, y can be positive 42, because positive 42 is 42 spaces away from 0. Another number that can be inside here is -42, because -42 is also 42 spaces away from 0. Okay, so you have some more to practice on that in your worksheet. Move on to this type of problems. So this type of problems, a mistake that I've noticed is that you guys solve the expression first before figuring out the absolute value. So you cannot join them. You have to find the absolute value first before solving it. So let's do that first. The absolute value of -6. How far is -6 away from 0? -6 is 6 spaces away from 0. Right? 6 plus the absolute value of 5. How far is the absolute value of, how far is 5 away from 0? 5 spaces. All right, now that we've got rid of the absolute value bars, we can add them. 6 plus 5 equals 11. All right, so I want you guys to look at this problem and look at where the absolute value bars are. Now look at this one. Where are the absolute value bars? They are outside the expression. Not over here where they're separate for each number. Right here, they are, you guys know what I mean. Right here, it includes this inside. So in this kind of problem, you need to solve what's inside first. We don't know what number we're measuring away from 0. So we need to simplify this. So if we were to have a number line, right, have 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. All right, -5 plus -1. We have -5 right here, plus one more negative number. We have -6. So that means this is the absolute value of -6. Let me highlight the absolute value bars just to keep myself organized. Okay, now we can figure out how many distances this number is away from 0. So -6 is 6 spaces away from 0. So the absolute value of -6 is 6. All right, you guys also have some gaining and losing problems, meaning you have a story and you have to write it as an integer. Integers are positive and negative numbers. So all this are integers. So they're telling you, let's say you gained $40 from your allowance. How would you write it as an integer? Well, if you gained, that means you added, right? So would that be positive or negative? Right? If you had $0 and now you have $40, positive, right? You can go plus 40 or just 40. We know it's positive even if you don't put the plus sign in front. So 40. Okay, so losing. Okay, let's say you had $0 and now you owe your friend $10. So you owe $10. So since you owe $10, you had $0 and you owe $10, that means you're losing $10, right? So you would write that as negative 10 because you lost $10. Negative. Sometimes they give you a story of like below sea level or above sea level, right? If it's above sea level, they're gonna be positive. They're above. If they're below sea level, they're gonna be negative, below. All right, so that's it. I hope this helps you guys.